Springtrap was first introduced in FNAF 3, but instantly became a fan favorite. With multiple theories, fan arts, and the scariest of all ships revolving around the character, there's plenty of videos we can make about the non-animatronic. That's right, he's non-animatronic. I've said it, and I've always stuck by it because he's just a guy who was filled with metal, who got stuck by a bunch of spring locks. He's piloting a suit. He's more mech than animatronic. Anyway, today we're looking at some theories we had about the character, some true, some disproven, but all fun. That's right, Willie A, that's what we're exploring today. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Connor Monroe and this is the Top 10 Scary FNAF Springtrap Theories. Let's do it. Free Willy! In at 10, William Afton. Before Sister Location's release, we could only speculate as to the name of the individual we knew as Springtrap. Tons of names were made. Dave, Dylan, Trent, Kyle, Steven, you name it, and someone had claimed that this was Springtrap's name. However, the introduction of Springtrap's true identity, William Afton, was actually in the FNAF novels, more particularly The Silver Eyes, the first novel in the series. This was mostly shown to the masses by Matt Pat and his theory on the subject, but the response was actually practically divided, with a load of people glad that we finally at least had some form of canon name for the character, and others upset because Matt Pat had used the books for his theory, which don't share the same continuity as the games, despite sharing the same canon of Five Nights at Freddy's. This theory, however, was ultimately confirmed to be true during Sister Location's starting scene, where we first hear Afton speak, talking about Baby's various features.
There's no doubting what you've achieved on a technical level. These are clearly state-of-the-art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping that you could shed some light on those.
She can dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
In at 9, Eternal Torment. Ultimate Custom Night was a really interesting turning point in the FNAF series. The original Afton storyline was finally at a close, and this game was the ultimate capstone to that, with some important lore hints in the form of voiced lines that play when you get killed. However, this game still fits into the FNAF story, and serves as a link between the original story and the new one, the new story being Afton trying to escape the video game world that he got himself locked in. But we originally interpreted this game all wrong, since we initially thought that William was burning in hell, or at least stuck in purgatory. But as all Supernatural fans know, purgatory is just a giant forest where monsters kill each other for all eternity, not a security guard office where you have to fight off countless animatronics. But this idea, despite being solid with incredible amounts of evidence, was proven wrong thanks to the original final book in the Fazbear Fright series called Bunny Call. Wow, Scott really likes to act like he's ending things with Springtrap and then just totally doesn't. However, in this book, the story of the man in room 1280 tells the true tale of what's going on in this game. Afton is in the hospital, horrifically burned after the FNAF 6 fire, and is stuck in a coma, much like Crying Child was in FNAF 4. Eventually he wakes up though, which I'm guessing is him beating 50/20 mode, and is brought to a Fazbear warehouse where he promptly explodes and possesses a hard drive. Fun. And at 8, Bribery. The fact that William wasn't caught, or that everything seems to go so perfectly for him, has to have an explanation. It's not like this guy just got that lucky. No way, not in Five Nights at Freddy's. There has to be a reason behind why the cops didn't check inside the bleeding and horrifically smelling animatronics. We know that this is the case because the newspapers from FNAF 1 confirm that the restaurants shut down thanks to animatronics smelling like death and leaking mucus and blood. Here's a quote from one of those clippings. Police were contacted when parents reportedly noticed what appeared to be blood and mucus around the eyes and mouths of the mascots. One parent likened them to reanimated carcasses. How were the bodies not found then? They could have tested the blood, found that it was similar to the parents if they didn't have any of the kids' DNA on file, and then easily have gotten a warrant to take the animatronics. But they didn't. The dead bodies were still never found and Afton was released. How the actual hell is that possible? The only way I can see, personally, is bribery. Like, William had to have been bribing these people, and they had to know that he was locked in the back room of Fazbear Frights, because why would they tear down a random wall to find that animatronic? It's impossible. There's no way that he just got released out of random chance. No one is that lucky. No. And at 7, the arm. We don't know too much about the upcoming FNAF game Security Breach. So far we know that there are at least 5 new animatronics and a whole pizzaplex to explore, and the game will have a day and night cycle, but that Afton will also somehow be involved thanks to the appearance of Vanny, who will serve as the antagonist to this game. However, in the gameplay trailer released for the game by PlayStation, at the very end we see a seemingly metallic arm reach out from behind some boxes. Some believe this to be the arm of the Stitch Wraith, others think that this is William. I think it's the latter, since, we can see the reflection of purple light coming off the arm. And Springtrap, aka good ol' Willie Afton, is known for being the purple guy. This combined with the fact that he's trying to escape the game indicates that he will in fact be successful, and his goal of achieving eternal or everlasting life will be complete, since now he exists as code, and can, I'm guessing, jump from animatronic to animatronic. And that's probably going to end up being a feature in the game after Security Breach, if there is one. And at 6, GLITCHTRAP. GLITCHTRAP is very clearly meant to be William Afton in his code form. As Tape Girl says, he was created after they scanned a hard drive they were given that was meant to help with coding the AI for the animatronics. However, while this is evidently William, it's theorized by many that this is meant to be based on the original suit that Afton wore to lure kids away, or at least try to, since thanks to the newly released Faz Facts, which I covered in detail in another video, link is in the iCard, we now know that the first animatronics William built, or at least some of the first, had claws that could hide away items, which is a feature only present in the Funtime animatronics. So the Funtimes were built before the spring-lock suits used in Fredbear's Family Diner, at least they could be. So this would have to have been a suit used at the company before they even had animatronics. And he was also planning on going on a killing spree already, so we can always assume the worst. Maybe there are more kids that went missing out of their homes like suggested in the Midnight Motorist minigame. Who knows? Halfway through it at number 5, Survivor. The issue of how William was surviving so much was really on everyone's mind. He made it through being spring-locked, he survived 2 fires, he was really somehow the most iron-willed individual in the series, and we have no idea why. Or at least, we had no idea why. The main theory was that William had injected himself with Remnant, which is the molten form of metal possessed by a soul, which would have been the original 5 animatronics. This idea, from what I can tell, came from the books, since the novel version of William becomes incredibly obsessed with Remnant and trying to use it to grant himself everlasting life, like some weird kind of soul vampire, also known as a ginger. This seemed like a solid idea though, and explained away many of the random things he got through, but had one crucial flaw. The only way to destroy Remnant is with a fire, so he would have had to make it out of the FNAF 3 fire unscathed, which as we saw in Sister Location's ending, he didn't, since he was literally at the burnt down Fazbear Fright. Does anyone else find it slightly annoying that Fazbear Fright is both the name of the FNAF 3 location and the series of books revolving around like the short stories? Because I certainly do. It's very annoying. And at 4, MIKETRAP. The MIKETRAP theory came out after Sister Location's secret ending, where Michael makes his speech with the famous line of "I'm going to come find you." After saying "I'm going to come find you" a second time, Springtrap appears at the burnt down Fazbear Fright. This one little moment caused some fans to assume that Springtrap appearing meant that it was Springtrap who was talking, making them think that Mike was in fact the one in the Springtrap suit. Hence the name MIKETRAP. This, however, was simply to illustrate that Springtrap survived the fire, like we had been assuming, since Scott said in a Reddit or Steam post to check out MatPat's conclusion on this debate, and MatPat had concluded that it was William in the Springtrap suit. Since in FNAF 2's minigames he was able to drive, and if he was Michael, we couldn't have been him in Sister Location. It wouldn't make sense. But that wouldn't be the end of the MIKETRAP debate. Haha, just wait until the next game comes out. Getting close to the end in number 3, Survived. After FNAF 3's ending, when we learned about the fire, we thought that that was it, at least for around 20 seconds, until people started brightening the final image like we know to do with FNAF by now. And that's when we saw Springtrap sitting in the shadows behind the stuffed animal that was the image for the news article about the fire. Now, I have no idea how the photographer didn't see that, or if William was bribing news outlets or whatever, but this is absolutely terrifying. And it really is what started us down the rabbit hole of having to jump through several hoops to find more lore clues and ideas. Brightening this one image made us have to comb through the files of a mobile game. Think about that. Anyway, this image set us on the path to thinking William survived the fire and that this would not be the last FNAF game. I don't know if this was supposed to be the point of the Easter egg, like if it was somehow to allow for more games in the series if Scott wanted to, but hey, either way, it happened. And here we are, 5 games, 15 books, and more later. Still questioning everything about this series, so time well spent. Penultimately in at number 2, Spring vs. Scrap. Then Ultimate Custom Night came out, and the Mike vs. Will Trap debate was on the rise again, thanks to the introduction of Scrap Trap, who people thought was Scott adding a new character so that both Afton men could be Springlock victims. This was incredibly frustrating for me, but it was ironed out when Scott referred everyone to MapPat's conclusion on the debate, like I said before, cause you know. And in Ultimate Custom Night, Scrap Trap says, "I always come back," which turns into William's signature line because let's be honest, he does always come back. So that seemingly settled it, but there are for some reason still fans who believe that Springtrap and or Scrap Trap is still Michael, which just boggles my mind. But when people are dead set on something, you can't really convince them otherwise, just like how you can't convince me that Mike isn't a robot, even though in this debate there is confirmation that Spring and Scrap Trap are William, but hey. Finally, in at number 1, Survive ×2. William surviving the FNAF 6 fire though was much harder to believe when it came out at first, at least before Bunny Call was released. However, some fans seem to note that during the final cutscene of FNAF 6 during Henry's speech, while the other animatronics were engulfed by flames, Scrap Trap was ahead of them.
There's more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
This was especially hard to believe given that we thought Ultimate Custom Night took place in hell, which is really impossible to go to unless you die. Well, with me being the exception. I party with Satan on the regular. He strangely can't hold his liquor. Either way, this was all proven to be true when Bunny Call was released and William was in the hospital in room 1280, which I have to say has got to be one of the biggest trolls in the entire series, or like at least like one of them. Because like, come on Scott, really? You had to do that to me? To us? Yeah, thank you, Scott. There we have it, friends, the top 10 scary FNAF Springtrap theories. What theories do you have about Springtrap or FNAF in general? Be sure you let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.